My son gave me a framed quote of a famous Buddhist monk saying, and the saying goes, no mud, no lotus. Wonderful. Love it. I noticed your logo is a stylized lotus. So why did you choose the lotus flower?
That's so observant of you, and thank you for asking, because it's very intentional. And exactly, the lotus flower is kind of born in mud and muck, and kind of grows into this beautiful thing. And it's an ancient symbol, especially in Eastern religions, for the idea of rebirth and transformation and healing. So that's really why I chose it. And interestingly, the lotus flower closes up at night and then opens again in the morning. And I just think it's so symbolic and beautiful, and it's a hopeful thing.
Yeah. So audience, anyone that wants to know more about Mary, just think of the lotus flower. You've worked with thousands of grieving children and adults. Do you think talking about life and death and loss with the dying person, and the more I think about that, the more I think what a great luxury it is. Because a lot of people didn't have that choice, very sudden deaths. Do you think that helps ease the traumatic effects of loss?
I believe it does, because it's so important to have a chance for both the person who's dying and the people left behind to say whatever they want to say, whether it's goodbye, thank you, what you're grateful for. And I think people who are dying also welcome the opportunity to speak of their experience, and may not often get that chance because everybody's acting like, oh, okay, you're going to feel better soon, or, just kind of that fear again we have in our society of death and dying. And so we end up people feeling very alone who are dying, and then people who are going to be left behind are walking on eggshells or just not given the opportunity, probably because they don't know how important it is. And I'll share another personal story. When my father was dying and in the hospital, my mom told me and my brother, it'll take a miracle for Daddy to come home. And even though I was 14, I still just thought, oh, we'll get that miracle, But that was her way of saying your dad is going to die.
Yeah.
But we were never taken to the hospital to see him, to say goodbye, to say I love you, to say how much we're going to miss you, how grateful we were for having such a great dad. And so I've carried that my whole life and mourn for, wish for, the chance I didn't have.
Yeah.
And so I think it can be such a healing thing for the mourners left behind.
Yeah.
It may be impossible to say everything because you can't, but at least you had a chance.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the symbolism of the fabric you were talking about, sewing the fabrics together. The tapestry. So the dying person also, so the people, the survivors, that's one side. But then if the dying person can express his or her feelings to children and wives and parents and whoever it might be, friends, I believe that dying person will more likely thrive in whatever days they have left, and also help enhance the needle and the thread to keep the tapestry together.
Right.
So, children can learn a lot from a dying parent, the wisdom they want to pass down, and whatever else it might be. I think there's an opportunity there. It may hurt our clinical businesses, though, if these people have enough time to
do all their grief work.
Yeah, do it all ahead of time. So, but I would like that. I would like if that happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like kids can do or adults can do. I mean, kids can sit by the side of the bed and hold their grandfather's hand. They could help feed him soup. There's a little girl who told me about how, and she was like not even 4, that she used to sit by her dad's bedside and feed him soup. And she told me that through her play, that play kitchen. And I want to mention there's actually 3 wonderful books about this, which I guess I could share now. B.J. Miller, who's a Buddhist palliative care doctor, he wrote a book called The Beginner's Guide to the End, Practical Advice for Living Life and Facing Death. Beautiful book, which talks about the importance of those conversations. Being Mortal, by Atul Gawande, and When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. If you're interested in reading more about end of life and how to have the quality of life for the person dying and for the people living be so much better than often it is. I also want to say that this Fred Rogers quote you've probably heard, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So by helping the dying person talk, helping kids talk, it becomes less scary and less frightening. You can manage it. You can handle it. You can cope with it.
Yeah.
So it's not so scary. And then the other thing is the importance of telling children, especially, the truth. So, and not using euphemisms. I know telling me, well, it'll take a miracle for dad to come home. Like daddy's going to die might have helped. So telling children the truth about, what death is and what dying is, and how should we, remember Grandpa, and what should we do while he's still here? Anyway.
Very good. It's a really funny story. It's funny now, but this young boy was told by grandparents and parents that the grandfather was going to die, and that the Grim Reaper was going to come take him. And the little boy said to me, "The Green Ripper took my grandfather." I don't know if that's good grief work or not, but it certainly made me laugh at the time. So, but I do believe that a more truthful, honest, genuine kind of talk with children and parents together, and grandparents, threads that needle and makes that tapestry a lot stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can we support families and healthcare professionals to promote these earlier conversations about life and death, so the bereaved will be more emotionally ready when the time comes? Do you have any ideas on that?
An idea is, I'm so big on educating yourself, and there's so many good books on this. I don't know if you have them on your website, but get educated. Read the books I just mentioned, especially healthcare professionals. Because it really drives home the importance of having these conversations. And the other thing is, actually, the New York Times 2 weeks ago had a pull-out section on the topic was death and dying and bereavement. A whole section in the New York Times Sunday edition devoted to that topic. And I was like, we have come a long way.
Yeah.
This is really great. It's kind of like a primer. It was a great entry into the topic. When we may think, we know all that, but most people don't. No. So I think the other thing that's really wonderful that happened here in New Jersey is that a law was passed last year requiring grief education in the schools, in elementary, maybe to middle school. I'm not sure. That's huge.
Yeah.
because, information is power, and being able to name what it is you're experiencing. Oh, I'm grieving, and if I'm grieving, maybe there's something I can do about it.
Yeah.
And so just I'm big on education. I think the other thing is to remember that kids are actually cool about death and dying.
Yeah.
We're the ones that mess them up. Yeah. We're the ones that get all nervous and freaky and oh no, we can't bring them to the funeral, or it's just like they handle it well. So one thing I was thinking about is just the opportunity of teachable moments. And again, I do focus mostly on children, but using for people in the community and parents, using teachable moments to help children know about death, like the squirrel on the road that's dead, or the bird, or when your pet dies. Instead of like replacing the goldfish so they don't know, no, use it as an opportunity to like talk about what we're going to miss about them, and bury them, and do a ritual, and what does it mean to be dead. So that's just some of the things I thought of. The other thing is there's been this movement over the past probably 10 years for death cafes in the community, like going to coffee shops and, have a gathering of people who are just there to talk about death, what their fears are, whether they want to be cremated, what do you think happens after you die? There's even dinner parties for this. So I feel like we have come such a long way in trying to normalize death and dying and helping people be a little bit more comfortable with it, because it is the one thing that happens to all of us. And yet there's so little information and so little talk and so much fear. That's
great. We will have Mary's resources that she mentioned listed at the end of the podcast, so you can have references to those at the end of the podcast. Well, what I know is you have a lot of experience personally and professionally with trauma and complicated grief. What can we learn from your experiences? What would you like to pass along to the audience?
I think, one of the things I've learned from the families that I've worked with in the grief support centers and the people in my practice is that people have a lot more resilience than they are aware. And also that resilience isn't something that you either were luckily born with or not. Resilience is a process. It's something you can learn and develop. So I think that's, people think they're not going to survive this and that they'll never be happy again. And what they learn and what I've observed is that with mourning, people can and survive and even thrive, and that grief can be something that was good in their life, even though they never would have wanted that person to die. But that I think is the biggest thing is, and I just need to look at my notes because you ask really good, hard questions. The other thing is, I always say this, just find a way to tell your story, and ideally have at least one person to witness and be there for you telling it. That's ideally is there's a listener. If not, in a journal, through a poem, writing poetry or music or art, and then getting support. I think that a lot of people think I have to be strong, I have to carry on, and in some ways you do have to carry on, especially if you have kids that you still have to take care of. You have to get up and feed them and dress them and get them to school, but you get support in any way you can, and you're not weak for getting support and asking for help. It's a sign of strength. And I think that, kind of for my baby boomer generation, Coretta Scott King and Jackie Kennedy were kind of the models for how you do being a widow. You're stoic, you're strong, you carry on, you don't cry, and maybe a great role model for a nation, but not for us as individuals. And Coretta Scott King said at the end of her life, and she was dying of cancer, she said, if I had to do it over again, I would have done it so differently. I would have given myself and my children a chance to mourn and to grieve. And I believe my illness is from keeping everything bottled up inside. So get support, get help. It's, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience?
I think we were talking about this before we started, is I really look forward to the day when people stop apologizing for crying.
Yeah.
So whether in my office, like they apologize for crying, and I'm like, what better place?
Yeah.
But they apologize everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't apologize when we laugh.
No.
But there's something that we think is like embarrassing or wrong or makes other people uncomfortable. So it's not just we apologize, it's other people being able to be present to other people's pain.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. That's the hard part of our jobs.
Yeah.
Without trying to rush in and fix it. Let yourself cry. Yeah, it's a biological necessity.
Yeah.
It's good for us.
Yeah.
You know, it releases hormones and yeah. And don't try to get through your grief alone.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for your genuineness and your mission to bring resilience or bring out the resilience of the traumatized. I am grateful for our friendship. Thank you.
I'm grateful too. Thank you, Scott.